Welcome to the York Emporium. It is the first Friday of March. It is Friday night, March 6th, and at the York Emporium, it's first Friday. We've got a crowd here tonight because we have a book reading and a signing tonight. I was asked earlier who we had coming to sign a book, and I said it's a very famous guy. His name is Jon Smith. And I said, no, really it is. That's really who's coming. And that's really who's here is actually Jonathan Smith, sitting here at the table with me. He has just published his third book.
Finzel, a psychotic love story.
This is Finzel, a psychotic love story. It's actually her third book. Earlier he wrote The Mansion. There's a story about that behind that one. And Life So Far. There's the camera over there.
There is a fourth book.
There's a fourth book.
Yep.
And that's called what?
Mountaintop Deserts.
Mountaintop Desert.
It's a poetic foray. So I just didn't have a copy with me.
Oh. Well, we don't call it poetry.
Yeah,
So,
I don't.
You know, it's just, yeah.
It's just a feeling.
Yeah. So, we have the famous Jonathan Smith with us here tonight. John, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the York Emporium. And all of the crowd, look how they applauded when I welcomed you here.
I know, it's great.
It's amazing. Your fan is here. All right, so talk first of all, talk about these two books these earlier books. This one you just published a couple months ago.
I published that last June.
That long ago.
Yeah, it was June 15th of last year.
Okay.
And that was my first foray into publishing work. And it didn't quite capture my voice, but it was a very good book.
It's a novel.
It's a very good novel about a house that my wife and I used to live in Wellsville, which was haunted and had a very long history of strange occurrences. And I'm a...
Not the least of which was you and your wife living there.
Well, that was definitely an odd one.
Yeah.
And I'm obsessed with carnivals, so the Wellsville Carnival's a big deal up there, and I interlaced both of them into a long book.
So that's The Mansion. And Life So Far.
That was just something it's poetry and short stories, just some stuff I was working on to keep myself motivated in writing because I'm very good at not doing things. So I put some poetry together and did a couple of short stories and just put them in a little volume.
Okay.
So there'll be another one come out shortly.
And that will be
there's
Life Thereafter?
Well, actually the next one is I can't remember Long Drives and Short Lives because I write mostly when I'm on the road. So.
And you are, we should probably say, what you do for a living, other than write, is...
I drive for A&S Kinder, trucking company out of York.
Okay.
So I was on long haul, and now I do short stuff.
Short stuff in and around York.
Yes. I go up to State College and back twice a day.
Twice a day?
Yeah, it's an intense day.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So now you've done this one.
Yes.
All right. So we got Finzel, a psychotic love story.
Mm-hmm. I wrote that. I dictate a lot into my phone. It's the easiest way for me to work while I'm working. And I'm very attentive behind the wheel.
Of course.
Incredibly attentive.
Of course, it goes without saying.
So I was on a drive out to Indiana, and I was driving through. I drove down Maryland and through West Virginia and across Kentucky. It was my favorite way to get there.
Yes.
And I was driving.
You were paying deep attention to the road.
Paying the deepest attention. And it must have been 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when I started, and I was driving through Maryland, and I saw the sign for Finzel, Maryland, which is down off of 68, and suddenly this book poured out of me. It was 2 days later the first draft was finished.
Wow.
So it just...
Did you know a fun fact about the interstate highways?
What's that?
Did you know that for every 20 miles of interstate highways, there has to be 1 mile that's absolutely straight, no curves or anything?
I didn't realize that.
Yes, that's written right into the laws of the interstate highway system. And it's because this was all started under Eisenhower in the 50s and has nothing at all to do with what you're talking about here. But it's what I know about this stuff. for national defense. Because we expected to be bombed or something by the Russians at the time. So they built these interstate highways with 1 mile being absolutely straight so a plane could land down in an emergency.
I didn't know that.
It's true. So next time you're going down 83, 1 mile out of every 20 is absolutely, you could theoretically take your hands off. You wouldn't do this.
Never.
Because you pay strict attention to the road. But in theory, you could do that, take your hands off the wheel.
Wow. I never knew that.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Not at all, but,
No, but-
that's great to know.
I have fun facts. You would believe it. The stuff that you figure out when you come in here. The fun stuff.
This is nothing but knowledge.
And some of it is actually true. And that actually was, because I couldn't make that up. I'll say. So Finzel, it was named after a town.
Yep, and it has nothing to do with the town of Maryland.
Okay.
The town in Maryland, I'm sorry.
Okay.
It happens, it was set from 68 into Morgantown at the West Virginia line on down 79, just that general Appalachian area. There's, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is just down 79. So you get into Morgantown, you go south, probably about 35, 40 miles, and the Trans-Allegheny is there. It's now a haunted attraction like Eastern State Penitentiary, that kind of stuff. But at some points it was the only state hospital for the criminally insane in West Virginia. And so I just, I grew up in a small town outside of Pittsburgh. Well, my family's from there. I didn't grow up there, I grew up here. Anyway, so my family's from a small town outside of Pittsburgh that's an Allegheny Mountain town. It's called California. There's California University of Pennsylvania's there. And that lifestyle of just co-workers and people just getting by, swinging a hammer, I've been around that a long time, and it's something that easily, if you walk down 79, every person you meet, roughly the same. They came from that lifestyle of working the mine, just working to get by, and just enjoying life. So, I transmitted that to somebody who would be in the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Although I never named the institute that he's in because it's just imaginary.
Okay.
It's just something I made up. It's fiction.
Right.
So.
And this is his story.
This is absolutely his story.
Okay.
So he has a defiant issue with authority and refuses to tell them why he's there, and just will not open up on the record. And he decides that you are so important to him that he's going to tell you his story. It's written in the perspective of him just talking to you like he's real. Just not as crazy as I just made that sound. So,
No, it's.
I don't have stuffed cats or anything at home.
You don't?
I promise I don't. I have 2 cats. They're fantastic.
And they're not stuff.
No, they're alive. And they eat all my food.
Good. Well, good, I guess.
They're good cats. One was an outside cat. Was.
A feral cat.
Mm-hmm. But she was friendly enough to come inside.
Oh, good.
So,
All right.
would you like me to read some?
Yeah, because we'll probably want to hear more of your story than about your cats.
Yeah, I think so.
I really enjoy hearing about cats.
Well,
Well,
no, we got a couple people. We got a couple
The
of votes
cat
for
was
cats.
the cat was actually Devin's at one point. She was Devin's outside cat, and they moved out.
We
and-
found her here downtown and took her to the suburbs. And now she
so.
apparently hated us but loved them.
Loves us. So, but I would sure love to read for you folks. Would you like to hear some?
All right, I'm going to read. Go ahead, read.
I'm actually going to stand because I'm an anxious human being. I like to move around. So.
Okay, well, you want to stand behind the table?
I'll stand.
No, it's good because you stand back here. If they don't like what you're doing, you can duck.
Well, that's true.
All right.
I won't get into tomatoes.
Go for it.
All right. Finzel, a psychotic love story by Jon Smith. Published a month ago, roughly. Chapter 1. The Maryland prison system has become cumbersome and overcrowded. I am a giant among these men. I am a giant among these earthly men. Finzel, are you listening to me? The old gray doctor looks at me with anger in his steely blue eyes. I don't like who he is anymore. His gray hair makes me want to rip the walls down in his cramped office. Of course, Dr. Thompson. Please continue. I tune him out immediately, wondering what will be for lunch today. It is Tuesday, and I think Tuesday is spaghetti day.
If I'm wrong about that, then I will have to punish someone for my being wrong. Finzel, you've been in our care for nearly 5 years. You need to tell us about that night so we are able to change your treatment plan. Wouldn't you like a change, Finzel? Maybe a new view out of your window or relocation to a facility that has an outdoor recreation area? When was the last time you remember being outside? Yesterday, maybe. Oh, Finzel, why can't you just stop mucking about and live in our reality? I'm aware that you simply want to be argumentative and be the problem. We want to make you the solution. Finzel, can't you just work with us? Of course not. There would be less fun in that. Oh, Finzel, I hope you find a reason to stop this childishness very soon. You may go. Our time is up today. Orderly, take this man back to his room. I got up from Dr. Thompson's fainting couch and looked at the orderly who was shuffling across the floor in his white, non-slip tennis shoes and white scrubs. He was tall, taller than me. He had a lot of muscle hiding under the layers of fat he had accrued in his tenure of life. That's probably why they always had him escort me around. He could take me down if he needed to, but I never gave him a reason. I am a giant among these men. Come on, Tiny. Why don't we go back to your room and meditate a bit? I do as he asks. The sound of my beige slippers and his white tennis shoes accompany us down the hall. I haven't said anything to him in the time that he has worked here. I don't want to. He's not worth the effort of filling my lungs with a block of talk and expelling the buildup at him. Just not worth the effort. Puce, 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 light blue. Puce again. I don't know who decided that these colors would keep the animals calm, but they were wrong. Puce was a bad pick for me. It reminds me of the way that the blood smelled on my fingertips. The light blue reminds me of the dress. Chapter 2. I remember him. I remember you. They gave me a comfortable bed. I like sitting in it. Laying in it can be a problem, but only on cold nights. My body doesn't like the cold. It doesn't get cold for too long in this place. I have the fear of God to keep me warm through West Virginia's short winters. Meditating is a secret code between the orderly and I, or maybe just me. It can't be a secret if only one person knows it, though. Maybe it could be. I think it's the orderly's way of telling me to stay out of his way for a while. Maybe his nights sucked at home and he has the itch to feel power, to feel like a giant among these men. Time does its best to stand still in this place. That may be the worst punishment of all. They put clocks on the wall every 10 feet, so no matter where you look, you're always aware of how little time has moved since you last got distracted and felt the need to look at the grimacing face. Nothing makes you crazier than feeling like there's no chance of moving forward. I guess the catatonics are the only folks in this place that have found an escape. They can be giants in their dreams, not like me. I am a giant among these people. Whether secret code or not, I have found that meditation helps my overall mood through the arc of 0-100 back to 0-100. I don't meditate on the goofy things they tell us we should consider deeply. There are no layers to crime sometimes. Sometimes life is depthless. Some folks go batshit crazy on drugs just to feel like they're in a lost childhood. Sometimes people drown their babies in a bathtub out of jealousy. I meditate about those dark thoughts. Do you? I don't think you do. Not one bit, honestly. I think some people are too afraid of their own thoughts sometimes. I think some people can't be honest with how they feel, and that is when all the bad things come out and play. I think God is a vengeful space wizard because we think he loves us, but all we do is fear him. It starts to shine when you give the light power. Wind-powered vehicles already exist in the high seas. I really do hope that it is Spaghetti Day. I don't like to punish the innocent for my mistakes. I think I'm right to do it. There is no innocence left in this place. Chapter 3. I saw a bird on the highway once. It happened in my father's car. He had taken me to work at the mine just like every other day. We were done for the day and I felt small. My lungs burned from the pack of Chesterfields I had smoked throughout my shift, and the pearls of coal dust that were growing in the deep hidden parts of my lungs. The hard breaths made me feel small, but I felt like a giant when my pickaxe swung down through the air in the mine. The bird I saw was big. He was so black that he was close to deep purple. His feathers were flitting in the wind as he chased Father's pickup truck. I watched the bird through the window behind me. It almost looked as if his beak was upturned in a big smile. I didn't stay in school long enough to find out if birds could smile, so maybe he was. I would smile too if I could dart around in the sky like he was. The bench seat in the truck was thick canvas that was ripped in a lot of places. The springs in the seat squealed whenever we went over bumps. The bumps made Father's beer spill sometimes, and we hit a bump that sent his beer flying off the dash and into my lap. "What have I told you about stealing my beer, boy?" I looked at him with an inkling of fear in my eye. "You told me to buy my own." "That's funny, boy. Did you pay for that beer soaked in your drawers right there?" He pointed a coal-covered finger at me and smirked. "I know what the Bible says the devil looks like, but I think that pointy horns and pitchfork is just to scare you into thinking the monsters are real. The Bible came out long before my father was born, which makes me think God didn't think too far ahead." "No, but I didn't take it." "Well, I can't drink it, so that means it was stolen away from me, right?" I knew what was coming. His tone was a cruel one. I knew he would make me feel small next to him. I knew he would make me feel tinier than the worm the bird flying behind us had for breakfast. "I guess you could if you wrung my pants out before they dry." "Oh, you got a sass mouth, huh?" Anger doesn't feel so important from the lips of a broken man. "I didn't mean nothing by it." "You did, boy. You meant you wanted me to take your pants off and suck my beer out of them even though you gone and stole the beer. You want me to work for what was already mine, maybe even suck my beer out of your underwear, like some kind of idiot, huh, boy? No, 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 no." I remember that wasn't the first time I cried. I was 14 already and must have cried 1,000 times over my devil's anger. I looked out of the corner of my eye for that raven, but he wasn't in sight anymore. I wish I was flying with him, somewhere, anywhere. "You just wait. You got a 5-mile ride to think about what I'm going to do to you when we get home. You'll go and learn what happens when you steal my beers and backsass me." 5 miles back to our trailer. 5 miles through Lewis County back roads to the old dirt road where we made camp with a few mining families. Time was moving backwards when I thought of his hand crashing into me. The cab stank of beer now, and I'm not sure how much of the wet in my pants was from me. Close your eyes, you aren't there anyway. Chapter 4. Emergency stopping only. The big otter is coming for you. He wants to taste your soul. The orderly turns the key to the lock in my door. I hear it click and look at the clock on my wall. An hour has gone missing, but no one will go look for it. I know they won't look for it. I wonder how often time feels insignificant. He must buy new shoes every time he leaves my sight. They are always so white, so pristine. The church inhabited only by his soles. He is not so particular about his scrubs. I think he has one set of scrubs, to be honest. When I met the orderly, his scrubs were snow white. They looked and smelled like a fresh start. Fresh linen and bile cleaner are the only smells in this place, and one is much more welcoming than the other. He smiled when we first met, but it was not much of a smile. Guarded comfort, maybe. Time passed, the clock got dizzy keeping up with itself. He came to my room one morning to take me to see that awful Dr. Thompson. I noticed his smile was gone, his expression blank like the walls of my room. I noticed something on his shirt, on the bottom nearest his belly button. It was a fleck of blood on his otherwise snow-white scrubs, maybe a little thicker than a human hair, barely noticeable. I picked up on the fleck. I thought it would offer a distraction in my daily routine. They say routines can help quell the vicious animal lurking in your dark places. I think that is entirely bullshit. Release quells the disaster imprisoned in your soul. The spot was a healthy distraction and I looked for it the next day. The spot was still there, though barely noticed for a month at least. Foggy conditions, please use flashers. One morning, the orderly got me for my session with that gray-haired creep. I looked for the fleck just to clear my head of last night's terrors. The fleck was now larger, much more obvious than before, maybe the thickness of a pencil. The rest of his scrubs were still snow white, and the spot of blood looked to be still wet. I couldn't imagine what or who the spot came from. The spot dried and stayed there for another month. The first day of the new month started, and the spot was bigger again. Only a slight size increase, but now more noticeable. Wet again. Still Snow White. I considered the spot a friend visiting once a month to say hello. No explanation sought in the matter. No explanation needed in my case, although the spot is now the size of a baseball, and somehow his scrubs are still bright white like they were still absolutely brand new. How does he do it? I hope you enjoyed. There's so much more to this, and it only picks up and goes even quicker.
Get the shot that I wanted.